So the IMHOTEP study stands for the African Cardiomyopathy and Myocarditis Registry program, which is a multi-center, national hospital-based prospective study. It aims to fill a huge knowledge gap around the epidemiology, the causes, as well as outcomes of heart muscle diseases amongst Africans. It's a platform to study the clinical characteristics, the causes, the treatment, the outcome of cardiomyopathy and myocarditis in Africa, but also a platform to study the comprehensive genetic determinants of heart muscle disease amongst Africans.
We've been following blindly where the West has led. All the research, all the major studies comes from the West, from Europe and the Americas, right? And we don't know. We know what we do know is that our populations are different. We know that the races and ethnicities are different. We don't know the impact that these have on our studies because the studies haven't been large enough. So our patients are being treated by the studies that have come out of the West. There was one particular family that stuck in my mind for the past, I think, 20 years, because that's how long we tried to find the genetic cause of the disease within this family. In 2017, we found the genetic cause of the mutation within this particular family. And just the elation you feel at that time, because now these patients can now undergo treatment, and specific treatment, because you now know what's wrong with them.
The Newton Fund in South Africa, where it has been absolutely catalytic to enable important research, asking fundamental questions about the biology of different entities. But importantly, the Newton Fund has also enabled the important collaborative research with our partners from the Global South, but also our collaborators based in the UK.
I've had a research program in Oxford for a long time that's been trying to take the genes that we've discovered that cause these conditions in families, trying to develop the technology for testing an individual patient's DNA sample. Of course, what we didn't have was lots of past African samples. And that's something that we need to build up over time. So we ran a relatively standard diagnostic genetic test, generated very large amounts of data, and handed that back to the lab in Cape Town, so that they and we could in parallel analyze it and look for these rare spelling mistakes, and then use that to find out which bits of the cardiomyopathy were behaving the same way as they do in the UK or in Europe.
In the short period of the pilot phase, we've already seen a number of important insights emerging out of this project, and we're in the process of writing those manuscripts. So we have noticed that heart muscle disorders are common. Their age of onset amongst Africans is much younger compared to what we see in high-income countries. Mongani was a remarkable individual, and it was both his courage and brilliance that inspired many of us here in Cape Town and our collaborators in other centers to really see the value of this work. And he was in many ways in the foundational stages of this project, the glue that held it all together. And at the time of his passing, there was great sadness, but an overwhelming sense of commitment to see the project to its end. Sister Veronica Francis, who was the project manager and was central in coordinating much of our work. So her loss was a huge blow to the project, and huge credit to Sarah Krause, who was a PhD student on this project, who really stepped to fill many of the areas and roles that she played. Professor Lungile Pepeta, a pediatric cardiologist from the Eastern Cape, who had shared the excitement of using our platform to better understand causes of heart failure amongst our children in the Eastern Cape. The success of the project is really testament to the wonderful members of our team who drive different aspects of the work. And Hugh and I are hugely fortunate to be supported by colleagues with great commitment and passion for this work.
So IMHOTEP is a stepping stone for a much larger project. We hope to include the rest of the African countries within our research. So currently we're sitting at 750 cardiomyopathy patients. We hope to expand that to 10,000 cardiomyopathy patients. And I mentioned before that Africa is the poor continent, and we're facing a health crisis. But through IMHOTEP and the Newton Fund, Africa's future is looking a little bit brighter.